What will we gain if we kill our brother? Come, let's sell him. And all the brothers agreed. They sold him for 20 shekels of silver. What kind of family sells their own brother into slavery? In chapter 3 of the story, we meet Joseph. Joseph had 10 older brothers who hated him. The issue was their dad, Jacob. Jacob favored Joseph. He had even given him a valuable multicolored coat. That's the modern-day equivalent of a parent of 4 teenagers giving one a new iPhone and the other some quarters to use in payphones. As you might expect, the brothers took out their frustration on Joseph, eventually selling him into slavery. The next thing Joseph knew, he was waking up in Egypt. The next 27 years of his life were a roller coaster. 1 minute a slave, the next in charge of an Egyptian's household, the next in prison, then finally in charge of the prison. At last, he found himself in front of Pharaoh, called upon to interpret the leader's dreams. With God's help, Joseph was able to warn Pharaoh that he would have 7 years of abundant crops that he would need to put in storehouses in anticipation of 7 years of famine. Recognizing his wisdom, Pharaoh put Joseph second in charge of all Egypt. That's a rags to riches story. A few years later, during the famine, guess who shows up in Egypt looking for food? Joseph's brothers. Can you imagine the 10 brothers' surprise when they realized their little brother was now ruling over Egypt? No doubt they were terrified to know their lives were in the hands of the brother they had sold into slavery. But Joseph's response was something they couldn't have imagined. Joseph tells them, "Don't be distressed with yourselves for selling me. It was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. To save your lives. God intended it for good." And Joseph forgave them. He took care of them. Joseph had a different way of seeing life. Joseph saw life from God's perspective. He looked for God's bigger plan and decided to play his part in God's story. Do you need to reevaluate your life? Consider how God wants to use your life to accomplish good. Ask God to help you see your life through His eyes. You might be surprised what you see.